I'm ready.
Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. Whatever time you're listening to this recording, I want to warmly welcome you because today is a very, very special day. We are interviewing an incredible woman today. We are interviewing Susan Ball, and in a moment I'm going to hand over to her to introduce herself to you. But those of you who don't know me, my name is Connie-Lee, and I am your host for today's live interview for the Live in Freedom e-course series. Susan's going to be telling us a little bit more today about how to step into your inner feminine power and passion. So Susan, the light within me greets the light within you. I say that because I know you understand about the light that is within each and every one of us. So I honor you and I acknowledge you, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
Yes,
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're
I'm
both
excited
excited.
to be here. The energy is really good. It's really good energy space.
Wow, wonderful. Why do you say that? Really good energy space. What do you mean?
I don't know. It's when I sit down to chat with you, and you know that I've had a couple of devastating things happen in the last couple of weeks. I feel connected in some way, and that we're going to have this very positive, powerful conversation, and that it's a safe place for me to share things about myself and what is happening to me without judgment. So it has a good energy.
That's so wonderful that you say that, Susan, because one of the intentions that I set when I asked the universe who could be the experts in the in the inner feminine power and passion e-course, one of the intentions that I set was that I would be divinely connected to people who would be the perfect people to create that exact space for the people in the academy. So the space of safety, the space of trust, the space of being able to be authentic. So those words that you used come from me, my soul sister. That we're singing the same heart song. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's good to be here.
Yeah. And you know, I love interviewing people because I'm still a student of life, as we all are. And it's such an honor to be able to just sit and give ourselves permission to listen from a blank space. And those of you who are listening during the live or during the recording, I want to invite you, whilst you're listening, is to just think, okay, what can I learn today? What is it that my soul would like me to learn? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, sometimes we feel that like we know everything, or like, oh, what is new, or, you know, not this again, or we have all of these beliefs or these thoughts. But to really listen from a space of, okay, what can my soul teach me? And this is the space I'm in. So I'm excited. Tell us a little bit about you, Susan. Enough about me. It's all about you.
Well, just on the technical side, I am a women's freedom coach and self-love activist, and I work with women who have experienced ugly, toxic, or abusive relationships to heal those wounds and to recognize their extreme personal value so that they can live free from toxic love, because we really don't need any of that in our lives. We really don't, and there's a lot of it out there. So when you say that about a blank place coming from a blank slate, that is one of the things that we lose over time. And one of the things that I like to reconnect my clients with, and that's our sense of curiosity. That curiosity of going in and learning something, that adventurous spirit. Because if you remember, when we were kids, we were just curious to do things.
Yes.
Let's jump off the bridge. Well, we're curious, right? If that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. But we did it with a light heart, and we just did it, and we learned. And then we get to a point, and I don't know where it happens or how it happens. Maybe life, you know, the responsibilities of life. We lose our ability to be curious, playful, and adventurous. And those things are so important for growing and healing and learning. How can you learn if you're not curious?
Yeah. That's so powerful. How can you learn if you're not curious?
How
Wow.
can you heal? How can you
Yeah.
heal if you don't have a sense of adventure?
And everyone can see your beautiful photo. It looks like in that photo you are living life through the space of adventure and curiosity.
Yes, that was me in Cuba, my very first trip to Cuba, which by the way I love. It is my heart place.
Oh, wow.
And that was our last day, and I stepped into the water because I wanted to have a picture taken, and this huge wave that you couldn't see just shot up from behind me and soaked me. It just
Yeah.
soaked me, and my husband caught it at that precise moment
Ah, that's
of shock and
wonderful.
joy.
That is so wonderful. And when I look at that photo, I see freedom. I see you being in that energy that I would call freedom. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yes,
That's
and
great.
that's why I call those little powerful, joyful moments that we have every day that a lot of times we don't even notice, or we just scan over them and say, forget
Mm.
about it. But there's joy in looking up. I remember at one point in my life when I was in my healing journey, somebody pointed out to me, I lived in Toronto, and Toronto's a very big city, and you get caught up in the mobs of people, similar to Paris. You just kind of go with the subway and you go with the people. And somebody said to me, look up at that building. Look at
Mm.
all the interesting gargoyles that are on that building.
Yeah,
I had lived there most of my life. I did not know those gargoyles were there.
yeah.
And that was a moment of joy and like a childlike playfulness of like, wow, we
Mm.
have gargoyles in Toronto. It's like, and then you want to share that information and share that experience. And that's, I want women to get back to that place of small joys and embracing that joy.
And do you feel that it is this toxic love, this toxic energy that we sometimes find ourselves in that limits us from experiencing those small joys and embracing those small joys?
Yes, because we get caught up in these relationships where we put all of our energy and focus on fixing him, fixing the relationship, fixing life as it's happening in that relationship, when in fact we can't fix or change that. We have to fix and change our reaction and our action to it. That's the only thing. We can only change ourselves, not the person we're dealing with. So if you're in that environment, it's bringing you down continuously, and your anxiety levels and your depression and all of that are overwhelming, it's time to change you. It's time to change your reaction to what's happening and change your action. Because you will never find the small joys when you are so busy mentally, emotionally, physically, figuring out how you're going to fix him.
And why do we feel like we need to fix? Because I think we all do, like, oh, we need to fix ourselves, we need to fix other people. Where does that come from? That it's almost like were we born that way? Did we grow up into this space? Like, how does it come across that every person actually feels like they need to fix things?
I think it's a general sense. And when I was growing up, I was taught that you had to be kind and considerate to everyone. So, and I'm going to throw out a word there because we all do this. It's called the should life. And
Yes.
that's how we get involved in that. So we're taught as young people that we should be nice to Aunt Mary, and we should hug so-and-so, and we should do this, and we should behave a certain way. So as time goes on, when we see somebody not doing that, we go, well, they should be doing that. Why are they doing that? That's what the normal way to do things. So we kind of, what's the word? We put on them our values, our preconceived values. And then we try to fix them to the standards that we think are correct.
Yeah.
And
Fix
that's
them
not
to
being
the
authentic.
standards.
Yes. And that's not being authentic.
Yeah. What is being authentic?
Being authentic is recognizing that when you are in a situation where you feel you are fixing and fixing and fixing, you are slowly losing touch with your values. And that's why your anxiety is skyrocketing, and your stress and your depression, because you have stepped away from what you truly value in your life. You've put all of that aside so that you can work on this other person. You're neglecting your being.
That's
If that makes sense.
interesting. That's so interesting because usually that's a beautiful way of looking at it from the other side. Like, okay, this person is irritating me. I need to maybe fix something within myself because I'm out of alignment with where I am, rather than just completely going back within and just letting that person be who they are and just looking at, who am I and what are my values? You know, when this is what you've just awoken in me, is this idea that we get caught up in the shoes, we get caught up in our in outside of us, but it's actually about just looking inside with that curiosity, that adventure, saying, okay, well, who is Connie? Who is Connie authentically? Actually, it doesn't matter what Susan's thinking, Susan's doing, what everyone else around me is doing, whether they're doing it correctly or not. Who is Connie and what does Connie want to be in this moment? That's really powerful, Susan.
And it's true. And you start to shed layers when you do that. When you can look at somebody, for example, I can look at you and say, you are Connie. Connie does things the way that she wants to do them because they make her feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I might do them a different way. And here's the key. That's okay. That's okay. And if you're in a healthy relationship and you're both living authentically and through your value system, you start to learn from each other. You do start to grow from each other. It's not forced growing. For example, I can tell you that after coming out of a very, very violent relationship, when I met who is now my husband, he was a very kind man. If somebody was broken down on the side of the street, he wanted to stop and help them. And I was very closed off because I had been hurt and wounded, so I wanted to protect myself as much as possible. So I would say to him, don't stop for that person, that's their problem. But as time went on, I learned to be kinder by his actions. Not because he made me be that way, but because through his actions, I learned that there was a part of me that wanted to be kind as well. And it worked with my authentic truth. Does that make sense?
I'm processing that because that's quite powerful. I don't know about you, Susan, but sometimes when somebody says something that's like really powerful, my mind goes and it's like, yes, I resonate. I really resonate, and I'm needing to like put it into a box, which I know we shouldn't be putting them into a box, but I'm like, yes, that's true, and I'm like, you know, trying to connect. We've got four flashes here. There's a chat. Eva, does Eva have a question? She's so wonderful. Should we turn her sound off? There we go. Hi, Eva. You can comment.
Now I was just listening, and it is the same for me. My heart goes the same like you, and it's the same when I listen to something that's the same with the same in me. For example, we start to grow from each other, Susan said, and this is very true. This is true indeed. And I like it very much. It is really powerful. We start to grow from each other with my husband, for example, with our friends that we share the same ideas. Sometimes with our sister or brother, or even though with our children, we grow with them. Yes, it is the same here. Thank you, Susan.
Oh, you're welcome. And it's the exact opposite in an unhealthy relationship. In an unhealthy relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship, parents, children, friends, colleagues, co-work, whatever it is, if it's unhealthy, you're not growing because they're constantly putting you down and putting you back into their space where they're comfortable with you. They don't want you to grow or be curious or have adventure or any of those things. They want to keep you in that little spot, so they keep beating you down, metaphorically beating you down.
I think it is true. I have some experiences in my place work with people that are not of the same opinion with me, or I know that they are wrong, but maybe that is the way how they think about. We can't say they are right or wrong. Maybe for them it is right and for me it is wrong, but I don't keep growing with them.
Yes. And this is what
This
the
is my
point is
opinion.
to grow, isn't it? Hey.
It is, and I think that in an intimate relationship, especially, there's to me an expectation of co-creation because you're spending the rest of your life together. So you have to come from a space of commonality, a space of love and respect and trust and all of those things. But you also have to come from a place of willingness to participate in this building of your life together.
I'm writing all this stuff down. That's great.
Me too.
Excuse me.
Sorry, Connie, didn't mean to make a joke.
Wow, what was that
Oh.
about? What does it mean when you cough? Like there's something I want to say. Oh, yes, I'm not going to share it because I'm not ready to share it. But I've just realized something that I haven't been expressing. Wow, that's powerful.
I know that when you cough like that, someone is talking about you. Someone far away is talking about you.
Could be. Or I think
Maybe.
like Louise Hay would say, when you're coughing, it's because you're trying to get something out that you're
Out.
not expressing. What do you
Yeah.
think, Susan? You're the expert tonight.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Or you get this very tight throat, almost feels like you can't speak. It's because the should part of you, the pressures of society, what you should behave like, what you should say, is trying to suppress it, but the authentic you wants to bring it forward. So it's like, but I
So you
want
just oh, that's so funny. But it's about expressing our authentic values, isn't it? Like our core values and having that courage to express your core values.
exactly. And we all have different core values. I think some of us have probably a lot that intersect along the way. But there's, and everybody, I always have my clients bring it down to five core values. But ultimately, when you place them in order, and technically, values work for any individual listening to this, you need to do it every 6 months, because as you grow and change in your life, your values will change. So you could be going along really well and you're feeling great, no stress and no depression, and life is great and you're feeling joyful. And then suddenly something happens and you feel, oh, ew, like something went wrong there. That's usually a sign that something in your value system has modified. It's changed. So for me, when I first came out of an abusive relationship, one of my big values was I wanted to feel safe. But as I healed, that became less and less a priority because I recognized that I was the one who had to make myself safe. I couldn't look outside of myself for safety. So my number one value, I will share it with everyone, I only have one, is freedom.
Ah, yes, you see, Susan. I was thinking that exact same. I was like, okay, what is my value? What is my value? And it's to live in freedom.
Yep.
It's like you were saying, to embrace the small joys, to see your life through childlike playfulness.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
When was the last time, and I challenge anyone who's listening to the live interview or the replay, is when was the last time you just did something childlike and playful? Sat on a swing and just swung around for a while. Went into a toy shop just to look at the toys and play with some of the things that you could wind up and that make you smile. Engaged in that way. Just those things that are fun, spontaneous, joyful, playful, childlike. I don't know why it is that we get to a certain age and everybody tells us to stop daydreaming and stop acting like a kid, grow up and pay your bills. And we sort of go from this place of curiosity, adventure, and joy to adulthood. And somehow you can't have those feelings in adulthood. And I disagree with that.
So how can we, I'm all about asking quality questions every day. How can we experience a childlike moment today?
Well, whatever, for me, I do something every day. I write in my calendar a play date with myself.
Ooh.
5 minutes to do something that is silly. So it could be dancing, because I'm just crazy spontaneous about dancing. But this is going to sound really funny, but I love to go to the park and sit on the swing and swing. I have clarity of thought. I just enjoy the freedom of, there it is again, the freedom of the air, how high can you go? There's that challenge involved in it. There's a little bit of fear, that because you might fall off the swing if you go too high. There's all of those things. So it brings out a lot of different emotions and playful emotions. And when you're on a swing, you can't help but smile. So even if it's just walking down the street and smiling at people, making 5 minutes out of your day to walk down the street and say, for this 5 minutes, I'm going to smile at everyone and say hi. Because we tend not to do that either. And if you watch kids, what do they do when they walk by people? Hi, hi. They're just so open and honest to meet people. It's the same for us. We need to get back into that being just emotive for no reason other than it's a great day.
Being emotive for no other reason other than it is a great day. Because we need reasons, don't we? We always, we're trying to fix people. We're trying to prove. We're always trying to prove ourselves or prove life is good or life is always greener on the other side. It's like, okay, when I'm there, I will feel happy. Once I've done that, once I've met the perfect person, once I've lost the weight, once I've, grass is always greener.
Oh, I know. And I hear it all the time. And I hear someday a lot.
Someday.
Oh, someday that might happen for me. Well, highly unlikely. Unless you take action, it's not going to happen. And someday is not a day in the week. It doesn't exist. So you have to make a decision that you want something and take the action steps to get there and go for it. You have to make your someday appear on your calendar. You have to write it in.
Yes. Schedule it. Schedule a date with yourself. Schedule a play date.
Yep.
I like it. So schedule a play date once a week. What was someone saying once? I went to a conference once somewhere, and somebody said that it's important we spend 1 hour a day with ourselves, 1 day a week, 1 weekend a month, and 1 month a year, connecting with ourselves and playing with yourself.
But it's true. Yeah. And, for sometimes even a play date can be just going somewhere in your town or your city or your village or wherever you live that you've never gone to before. Mm. Like I grew up in a big city, a cosmopolitan city. I live elsewhere now. And I would go to the things, maybe it's the same you live in Paris. I would go to all the tourist attractions in Toronto when people came to visit. I never did it for myself.
Yeah.
Ever. And I remember one time in Toronto we have a hop on, hop off bus.
Yes.
So it takes you around to all the tourist sites and you can get on and off all day for whatever it costs. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go ride that damn bus because A, I don't know where it goes, and B, I want to hang out on the bus. Best day of my life. Yeah. And I learned so much about my city where I had lived for 50 years.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered a lot of the steps. So as you know, in the Live in Freedom Academy, in the Thrive Academy, we have 7 steps. And the first step is trust. And I think we've covered a little bit about trust. And what I'm hearing you say is that it's creating that safe space for you in your personal belief, creating that safe space for people so that they can tap into who they are, spend some time with themselves and being authentic, creating that space of safety and trust. Was there anything else you wanted to add on with regards to how important it is, or how we can feel that, or how we can connect with that? Because it's the base, isn't it? It's, if we don't talk about anything else, that is like the key to connect with that. I feel, what are your thoughts to live in freedom?
I absolutely agree with you. And one of the things that I preach, I suppose, because, you know, trust in relationships comes up a lot, obviously. Women who come out of bad relationships often have trust issues. But it's not trusting another man that they have a problem with. It's trusting themselves to act in a way that represents their personal value and their personal worth. So when he does step out of bounds, you're prepared to leave. It's trusting yourself. It's not trusting him. It's trusting yourself. And you need to get to that place where you trust yourself to make all the right decisions, to stand in your truth, to stand up for yourself, to know that what your personal value is and what those boundaries are and what your reaction is going to be to that. So for me, it's trust is an inside job. It's not anybody else out there.
Yeah.
I can only trust myself. I can only trust myself to know that if Connie hurts me, I'm the one who has to decide whether I'm ever going to speak to her again, talk to her about it, walk away, or whatever. I have to trust myself to react the way that is in alignment with my personal values.
Yeah. You are, those of you who are listening, replay live, you are worthy and good enough. It's like you were saying, Susan, isn't it? You said that for you it's about helping people step into their true personal, extreme personal value.
Yep.
Yeah.
People don't value themselves. They don't see any value in themselves. They think that they are not worthy. And oh my God, you and I both know, Connie, that in healing and stepping into your feminine power and passion, all of that stuff is about how you value yourself, how you feel about you. Because you can't step into that if you feel you're not worthy of it.
So the next step is being aware. So being aware of what is preventing us from stepping into that level of worthiness. And I was also thinking that it might be interesting to hear from you. How do we become aware of the level of toxicity that we are in?
Oh, I just did a live about this.
Can you share it on the group for us? The link
Yeah,
so we can all...
actually, I can. I was just talking about, because I oftentimes get the question, is this a bad patch, a rough patch, or is this a toxic relationship?
Sure.
And the easiest way to figure that out is if it's happening every day, every time you are with this person, or if you're away from this person and all you feel is nagging doubt, anxiety, depression, fear that he's going to walk through the door early, whatever, that's a toxic relationship. If it happened, if you're having arguments with somebody, then it's time to sit back and say, what's going on in our lives that is precipitating this new level of non-communication? So there's a difference between going through a bad time, and we all do, because we're not perfect, and a toxic relationship. And there are levels of toxic relationships. As you know, there's the guy who's kind of subtle. You know, he just calls you names verbally, puts you down every day. And you start to notice that's a toxic relationship. And I'll give you an example. You go to the closet to get dressed, And everything you look at, you're thinking to yourself, oh, he's not going to like that, and he's not going to like that, and he's going to say I'm too fat and that. All your focus is on him and his reaction. That's a toxic relationship. Because ladies, I'm telling you, it's time to go in your closet, get dressed, walk out, and own it.
Yes. Preach it, girlfriend!
Own it. That's who you are. That's your value. You are, every inch of you is valuable.
And that's step number 3, is honoring who you are, accepting who you are, loving who you are, embracing all of who you are, embracing that feminine power and passion.
Yeah. Like and I'll tell the truth. I'll tell the absolute truth, because I believe in being authentic and being a truth teller. I quit smoking 6 years ago now. And when I quit smoking, I gave myself permission, because I really wanted to succeed at quitting smoking. I gave myself permission to eat anything that I felt like eating, any time of the day, cream puffs by the dozen, whatever it took to get me through it. Now I put on weight. And I started to notice, oh my, I got things that are rocking and moving and doing all this.
Rocking and moving, girlfriend. I love it.
Where did these come from? And I started to feel myself going into that self-judgment thing. And I backed it up by saying, my success is that I have quit smoking. This is an issue I can work on if I decide to later on. I love me just the way I am. So even though, and no, I haven't lost it.
You're still shaking and rocking and moving.
Be who you are, because I'll tell you, oddly enough, most people, when you go into a room and maybe you're feeling a little overweight, or you're feeling your hair isn't good, or whatever you're feeling that you're not good enough at that moment, you know what people notice? Your eyes and your smile. So if you go into a room and you're confident and you're aware and you own it and you're just walking in, you're talking to people and you're friendly, that's what they will remember. They won't remember what dress you had on. They won't remember what shoes you had on. They won't remember any of that stuff. What they remember is the personal interaction they had with you, how you made them feel. So be that woman.
So if we want to be that woman, but we're stuck, how do we release that which is keeping us stuck?
Well, I always start my clients off with a little flirting in the mirror. I know there's the I love you mirror work.
Yeah.
But there's this, getting in the mirror and saying I love you is great. I am absolutely in favor of that. I love you. But there's a part of that we don't believe. Our subconscious immediately comes back and goes, yeah, right, sure, whatever, right? And that deadens the sound of the I love yous. But it's much more effective to stand in the mirror and give yourself a little wink and say, you are fine.
I thank you.
Yeah. And experiment with putting your hair up, having a little bit of courage to do something different, but constantly flirting with yourself to boost up your self-love and your self-worth. The I love yous are great, and when you get to that point where you believe it, that's great. You can do that, but start off by giving yourself just a little wink and telling yourself, you are fine, you're good, you're worthy.
I've never thought of that before. I love flirting. I love it. I think it awakens this like inner child, that inner sex god, that power and passion that we all, it's just so nice to just flirt and get that attention. But how about giving that to myself? So tomorrow I'm going to be flirting with myself, girlfriend.
It works. It's very powerful. It's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You're all right. Like,
well, okay, so that is a great releasing technique, right?
Yeah.
So how do we invent the space where we are now living in our power and passion?
How do we invent the space? Well, for me, It was knowing that I was okay, that no matter what I did, no matter what I believed in, no matter what I chose, what path I chose for my life, it was okay. And other people's judgment of me or my path or my situation was not my problem. And that brought me the peace and the inner peace to start to flow in the direction of my dreams and what I wanted. Because for years we live with, when you say to somebody, okay, when I was growing up, I wanted to be the next Jane Goodall. I wanted to go live in Africa with the chimps. That was my dream. And everybody said, well, that's just stupid. That's dumb. You can't do that. You got to be a secretary. You got to get a job, blah, 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 blah. So we get toned down over our lives. And as we grow into our new authentic self, we have to fight all those voices, all of those things. So it's getting to a place where you acknowledge that other people will have a different opinion. You acknowledge that other people might even tell you what their different opinion is. You acknowledge and you accept that, but you don't allow it in, because this is your safe space and you're going to move forward towards your dreams.
I like that, not allowing it in. And I think that the next step, which is vibrancy, is a great way to not allow that in. Because for me, when you're living in the joy of the moment, when you're in the small smiles, when you're flirting with yourself, when you're tapping into that vibrancy of that which is life, I think it's so much easier for us not to let in all that toxic energy.
Yeah, because you don't want it.
Yeah.
You can recognize it and you sort of go, okay, yeah, I'm walking away. That's not for me. It becomes very simple. This is the funny part about doing all of this work, Connie, is that after you're done and after you grow into that vibrancy and you know your inner peace and all of those things, life becomes really simple. You can divert all of the bad energy. You can even be around bad energy for a short period of time because you know you're not letting it in and you're going home soon. And you're going to skip on the way past the Louvre because that's a fun thing to do right now. Right now.
Or jump in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. Which is also very nice.
Yeah. But you know, sometimes this is one of the questions that I get often from people is, it's great, I get it, right? All these concepts are what I would call head knowledge. And maybe they're a little bit of heart knowledge. But how do they become soul knowledge such that they integrate into the energy of the body? How do we live this every day if for 30, 40 years of our life, we've been living a different vibration?
That's the tricky part. And that only has one answer, and that's courage. It's the courage to step into your authentic self and own her. Passionately own her, protect her, know the value of her, say, this is me. If you don't like me, that's okay. If you do, let's go and jump in front of the Eiffel Tower together and take a great picture. What it is knowing that it's okay, that certain people will not like you. Certain people will not be on the same vibration as you. Certain people may talk behind your back or gossip or criticize or complain about you, and that's okay. Not your problem. When you get to that place, all that stuff melts away. You just don't care because that's their problem, not your problem.
Yeah.
But you have to know your boundaries. You have to know your authenticity. You have to know your values. You have to be playful, and you have to be, above all, courageous enough to embrace your whole authentic self. And you will lose people along the way.
Yes. Yes, courage is a big one. And that's why I changed my name. That's why I've got my name on Facebook as Connie-Lee Courageous Bennett.
Yes, because it does take courage. You have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to own it. You have to reject it. You have to do those things. Instead of dreaming them, you have to step out and do it.
So, whew, okay. My head's going, I have a lot to process there. Whilst I'm processing that, I'm going to ask the lovely Eva if she has a question before we start completing this wonderful interview. Eva, do you have a question for us?
First of all, I want to thank Susan because it was a very interesting interview and I learned a lot from her.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Maybe she answered some of my questions that I had some questions and you answered some of my questions, but at the part that you talked about the core values and you said that we all the people have different core values, and you said that there are 5 core values. Which are they? Can you list them, or can we find them in ourselves?
Everybody's core values are different, Eva. You have to determine what you value. So there's an exercise, and I can probably share it in the group if you want me to, Connie.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Share it. And it is a values exercise. So you start off with, I think there's 100 of them in the exercise. And through questions, you start to get rid of them until you get down to 10. And then you prioritize your top 5. Now, if you're only comfortable going to 10 and then you're going to work it out from there, that's fine too. One thing about values is, I think I said this before, it's an ongoing growth experience. But I can share that in the group if that's okay with you, Connie, or share it to you and you can.
It would be my honor if you shared that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it would be great for me.
Yeah.
It would be great for me too.
Sure, no problem, because it is the core of our essence, is knowing what that is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I'm assuming that connects us in a deeper sense to our why, our sense of purpose for why we are here and why we're doing what we're doing. Would you say that core values and your soul's purpose are more or less the same?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are, but we lose touch. Or, sometimes it's not that we lose touch with our core values. We try to live our lives on the values that have been passed down to us without being allowed to interpret and own our own. And that's a big gap that widens over time, because as we grow and we learn in our own environment as adults, we're infusing ourselves with different knowledge and different feelings, but we're not transposing them as our core values. We're trying to hold on to those old ones that we were given. And every individual has their own core values. And we know when they're out of alignment. For example, mine is freedom. My number 1 is freedom. So if you came to me and you said, "Oh, Susan, it's great that you were thinking about going, out tomorrow night, but you can't. We're going to be doing this thing." It would be like, no, I'm going out tomorrow night, and maybe we could do the thing you want to do, Connie, on another night.
Yeah.
Because it's my freedom of choice that you're now, and I would feel anxious if somebody did that to me. But I know that I feel anxious because they're stepping on my core value.
Yeah.
So I know how to react to it and what action to take. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, for me, yes.
Yeah. And what I liked about that, Susan, was that if you have 5 core values or even 1, it becomes simple. Like sometimes people ask me, how do I know what choice to make? How do I know what to do? And if you have 1, it's just, okay, do you want to go out? No, because I don't feel free. Do you want to go here? Yes, because I feel free. Do I want to eat this? Yes, because I'll feel free eating it. And it makes it simple but powerful, because that core value is connected with the energy of your why. And then it's just in a very simple, I'm going to try that tomorrow. What should I do tomorrow? Should I work? you know, we joke because we're playful, but
Yes.
you know, I think if we connect with our core value, then even working is fun, you know. So I sometimes feel free when I'm working, and it's that connecting with that core value that's important, like you were sharing.
That's right. That's right. Even work can feel can align with your core value. And if it's not, if you're really stressed out about your job, it might be time to start looking for another one, because it might be way off as far as alignment goes.
Wow. Okay. So, Susan, you're an incredible woman. And
Thank you.
if anyone listening wants to reach out to you, how would they go about doing that? As we start completing our interview, we have your website on the screen, which is www.susanball.ca. But if I wanted to reach out to you, what type of services do you offer?
Well, I have a monthly group coaching program that is called You Plus Joy.
Wonderful.
So, which is all about rekindling that joy through boundaries and so on. And we meet every third Wednesday of every month, and it's a great group of really passionate ladies who are learning a lot. So you're welcome to join that, and that's on my website, the link. Or you can reach me on Facebook. I have this really great group called Free from Toxic Love, and we talk about a lot of things to do with that whole idea of stepping into your feminine power and passion, owning your life, owning what you want. Women don't own what they want. They shy away from it. And I want them to own that, so that they are free to do what they want, and they are free to love who they want, and so on and so on and so on. So those are two ways that they can get in touch with me. And I have one-on-one coaching.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Susan, for being open to share with us tonight. What, in completion, what one tip could you give us so that we can step into our inner feminine power and passion?
Well, I'm going to give you one of my favorite little mantras that I like to use, and that is wake up, smile, make a positive change, repeat daily.
Wow. Wake up, smile,
make a positive change, repeat daily.
I like that. Simple. I'm loving this interview. This has been great. Thank you so much, Susan. I'm sure we'll see you again in the live question and answer sessions. But thank you so much. And every single one of you who is listening to this interview, I highly recommend that you connect with this beautiful soul that is Susan Ball. Reach out to her via Facebook, via her website, and just follow your heart. If your heart is beating in alignment with Susan, then I'm inviting you to connect with her. Ladies, thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Connie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye, Eva.
All right. Cheers, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.